In Barbados, social dialogue had its origins prior to the signing of the Tripartite Protocols in the 1990s and the establishment of the Social Partnership in 1993. At that time, as it is now, the world was in the midst of a recession, and social dialogue was seen as a strategic national problem-solving mechanism which helped to reduce industrial unrest and build trust. In this edition of In the Spotlight, you'll hear from representatives of the tripartite arrangement as they discuss its relevance and the evolution of the partnership as it plans for and responds to what some say is now an even more challenging economic environment. In an earlier program, Prime Minister Frundle Stewart explained that the partnership had deepened over time and was a model that was emulated worldwide.
I think that it has proved its point. It is a Barbados brand, and we should continue to work to strengthen it and to make sure that it fulfills the aspirations of the people of the country. Now, it could not have succeeded, let me emphasize, without the good faith, and the support, and the painstaking of the three actors.
The engagement of representatives of the state, the unions, and the private sector led to the creation of the first protocol 1993-95 and the implementation of a prices and incomes policy. 6 protocols later, a great deal has happened in Barbados since the establishment of the Social Partnership in 1993. Head of the Barbados Private Sector Association, John Williams, describes the body as an excellent forum.
It is an opportunity, certainly through the subcommittee, which meets on a monthly basis, for the trade union movement, for the business community, and for the government to meet. And sometimes, certainly in times of plenty, they're less pressing matters, but when economic times get more difficult, or there are other forms of crisis, I mean, post 9/11 and so on, when there were a lot of issues in the international community, it provides that forum for discussion and consultation.
As the partnership continues to put the development of Barbados first, Mr. Williams shared some ideas on how the social partnership could be strengthened to place more emphasis on implementation.
That has been a discussion that's been going on for quite some time as to when decisions are reached, how do we actually go about implementing those? Because certainly for all the persons who are attending, that is an adjunct to their principal role or principal job, whether it is in the labour movement, whether it is in government, or whether it's in the business community. So it's fine to get at a meeting and reach a decision, but who is to implement? So that's one aspect. I think the other thing is really the opportunity to move the social partnership into the role where it can provide what I would term as thought leadership. And so when we're coming to planning for the future of Barbados, what do we want Barbados to look like, whether it is in 10 years' time or 50 years' time, not just from an economic point of view, from a society point of view, I believe that there's an opportunity there for the social partnership to play a greater role.
Sir Roy Trotman is the General Secretary of the Barbados Workers' Union, which has a large membership base covering several areas of employment in Barbados. It was the BWU, under the leadership of Sir Roy, that pioneered the social partnership in 1992.
In July of that year, Prime Minister Sandiford, now Sir Lloyd Sandiford, called the parties together. He called the unions together as a single meeting, and he indicated that Barbados was experiencing certain difficulties, certain grave difficulties. And he sought to discover from us what it was that we would be willing to do to assist the country as a whole, not just the government, the country as a whole, to meet those challenges and to overcome the problems which we had. Out of that, we gave a body of ideas. We went and we started having discussions with the employers, and the employers and the workers, through their representatives, starting meeting with the government in what became the initial meetings of the social partnership.
Sir Roy emphasized that in the international arena, our social partnership has been described as a model to follow, and Barbadians should be proud of that.
The social partnership has made me very proud locally. It has made me very proud outside of Barbados. I've been very pleased to see how we have been able to work together at home in tackling many of the problems which cause other countries to falter and in some cases cause them significant social and economic fallout. If Barbadians do not feel that the social partnership is necessary in modern-day Barbados, they should ask themselves what's happening across the world, and they will discover that everybody and his cousin wants to develop a social partnership. There are very few countries in this world, and whether you want to call them capitalist countries, socialist countries, authoritarian countries, there are very few countries where people are not seeking to develop social partnership, social dialogue, because it's recognized that it's better to talk through issues rather than fight over issues, shed blood over issues, and work at counter positions to one another, pulling down rather than building up. And Barbados is quoted all around the world as a splendid example of what social partnership has done and can do. And Bajans should understand if they don't want it, many other people around the world want to copy our model.
President of the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations since 2010, Cedric Murrell, had his introduction to industrial relations as president of the Barbados Air Traffic Controllers Association in 1977. He has held various posts within the National Union of Public Workers before serving as president from 1992 to 94 and again in 1996. In his view, the social partnership must persevere despite the challenges.
I don't know that Barbados, certainly with its challenges now, can have a life outside of the partnership. The partnership allows for that information sharing. It allows for that decision making, that where the gathering of people's views, where the gathering of labor, public sector, freely shared, helps both the policy of the government of the day and also helps both the private sector and the trade union movement to better fashion their own responses to the issues. One of the really great things about it is the whole matter of information sharing. There's hardly anything that the social partners, labor and the private sector is not aware of, either on their own volition, because we certainly can do the necessary research, but certainly from the point of view where the agencies, particularly of government, do share. There may be still a few challenges within the private sector and private companies and so on, but again, that is a far cry from where it was before, when you could hardly get any information on the performance or otherwise of companies. Public companies, that's not a problem. They publish those. And so the utility of the partnership to the stability of this country is really something that we need to cherish.
Both the union leader and head of the Barbados Private Sector Association have voiced their pleasure that challenges are being prioritized with a view to concentrating on implementing solutions through the Barbados Action Team.
The Barbados Action Team, as you know, has been split into 3 working groups: the Efficiency Working Group, the Growth Working Group, and the Social Safety Net Working Group. And that ability to bring together the players for specific discussions on specific problems for the country, we think is very worthwhile. Again, we have to say that the real proof of the pudding will be, what concrete results can we see coming out of those discussions.
And Mr. Murrell added that chairing the Social Safety Networking Group has given him invaluable insight into the depth of our social safety net.
Presently, we are looking at the whole question of looking at the, let's say, the housing neighborhood upgrade program that is being done, and looking to see where within there we are able to help to push things forward. Beyond that, we would have examined the question of vagrancy and some of the issues that arise from that and where we need to go. We also would have looked at the question of the implementation of the system where government pays the light bills for some persons who can not afford that. What we are looking at presently is the Freehold Land and Tenants Act to see where there are blockages and to how we are able to help that process. We've had one meeting, an excellent meeting where we were briefed by the officials from the Ministry of Housing, and we are to have others such that once we understand what the issues are, we are able to recommend to the Cabinet what we believe can be done.
Mr. Williams is the chairman of the Action Team's Growth Working Group, which is responsible for several projects.
We have looked at a whole range of areas because our mandate is really to look at opportunities for economic growth in the short to medium term. We do not have resources as a group, so we do not either have a large bank account or an army of people to go and create those things. So our principal means are ones of maybe loosening log jams or facilitating discussions and so on. Or maybe generating ideas and actually getting those ideas for some other body or some other entity to implement. We have looked at a variety of areas. Some of them include highlighting key construction projects which have at some stage process of the planning or approval process and may need some assistance to get through that process so that the actual project can start and therefore generate employment and so on. We've looked at the area of renewable energy. There's a huge amount of interest in there, and so we've had discussions with the players in renewable energy to see what are the obstacles that are stopping persons from adopting renewable energy more speedily.
Mr. Murrell described what it is like to be a member of the social partnership and now the Barbados Action Team.
It is a very gratifying experience to recognize that the captains of the government, the captains of industry, and the captains of labor, if you want to say that, can sit frequently, dialogue in such a way that at all times you get the impression that it is Barbados first, coming from whichever side, okay? We obviously look at the problems from different angles, but I have no doubt and I do not feel at any time that the other leaders are not all interested in the betterment of this island.
The Barbados Social Partnership and the Barbados Action Team in the spotlight. A united response to the country's economic and social challenges. A meeting of minds for a better Barbados. We hope you enjoyed this program and that you learnt something new. I'm Sharon Lynch. Thanks for watching and goodbye.